G'day and welcome to The Outer Side. I'm Tony, and in this episode I'm joined by Blair, better known as Cowboy Tuned. Blair, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, mate, before we get into Cowboy Tuned, I want to understand a little bit more about the work that you do for an actual job.
Yep.
So, you're a farmer, but you don't own a farm.
No, I'm a contractor. So I've got a small list of clients that I help look after their own places. Do things like fencing, stock work, whatever really. There's so much different stuff that needs to be done on a farm. I can sort of do most of it.
Okay.
And it helps them out because they don't need someone full time.
Yep.
So I can move myself around the place.
Okay. So you work on different properties depending on when they need your help?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got regulars, but yeah.
So you didn't grow up on a farm though, did you?
No. I grew up on the Sunny Coast.
Ah, very good.
Coast rat. Yeah, I was in the building industry for, must be 20 years, but I got sick of it.
Yeah, right. Just working in an office and working in the city, I suppose.
Yep.
So you went from working in the building industry in an office to being a farmer. So how did that transition come about?
It was hard. No, where we are sitting right now, we used to come and camp here for a fair few years, and after one New Year's Eve, I think it was, they were having a drink, and they mentioned that they were looking for someone, and we sort of jokingly said, my wife and I, yeah, we'll do it. Didn't think anything would really come of it.
Yeah.
But it just, it happened.
Yeah, right.
So we picked up from Wyong where we lived and moved up to this place. I actually lived on this place.
Yep.
Learnt to ride a horse, learnt to fence, learnt to do everything.
So you had no experience whatsoever and you just went, yeah, right, we'll go do that.
Yeah, which was, in the end, it was a good decision, but I'll tell you, it was very hard.
Yeah.
Probably, at least 6 months.
There would have been times you were questioning what you'd done.
Definitely, yeah. But in the end, it was the right decision. It was pretty hard there for a while, though.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that sort of work, do you have any formal training or have you just learnt everything on the job?
I did do a farming course at the local agricultural college, but most of it's just, they're not going to teach you to ride a horse, or
yeah, you just got to figure it out, right?
You just figure it out. These guys put you on a horse and say, go your hardest. Eventually you learn because your backside hurts too much.
Yeah,
I had a sore backside for bloody 6 months probably.
Get thrown off a couple of times.
I have been thrown off a number of times.
Yep.
There gets to be a point when a horse is bucking on you. At the start you're thinking, how do I get off this thing? And then you've graduated a bit to thinking, how do I stay on it?
Yeah, right,
but
okay.
Both are scary.
Yeah. Well, especially here, the horses seem pretty wild, eh? They don't get ridden too often.
No, well, there's some that are better than others.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I suppose that would have been such a big change, right? Like you're working in the building industry and you're having to deal with lots of different people and personality types, which obviously has its own challenge. But now you're dealing with people, but also livestock.
Animals, yeah.
Yeah, and they have a mind of their own, right?
They do, yeah.
So you do a lot of cattle work on this particular property?
Yeah. This is I think it's 7,000 acres beef cattle property.
Yeah, right.
So we've spent a lot of time moving and processing cattle, doing different things to them.
And you said there's about 1,000 head, give or take, on this property?
All up there probably would be with all the calves and everything else.
And something we were talking about last night, which I found quite fascinating, was we were here with the owner of the property, and he was talking about the way that you guys manage the land with the cattle, and it's slightly different to the way a lot of others manage that land.
It's coming on board now. A lot more people are doing it. It's called, well, you would have heard regenerative agriculture before. So the standard way was to set stock everything. Everything would just be in a big paddock and you just leave it for the year, do what you need to do to them, put it back. But this place, those big paddocks, a lot of them have been split up into lots of smaller paddocks.
Okay.
So basically we move the cattle around a lot more and they put pressure on where they are, and then we give that paddock a break. Yeah, okay. And they go somewhere else.
So what you were saying last night was that if you leave them in one area, they'll eat their favourite things to the point where they'll just kill it. They'll get rid of it all.
That's right. Like if you leave me in a room full of Great Northern, I'll just drink it till it's gone. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
But if you move me out of there...
Well, that happened last night.
It did, unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't think there's any left.
All red wine?
Yeah, that's true. Or steak. So yeah, it's really quite interesting, and I think for you to have transitioned from that I guess city life, call it city, Central
pretty
Coast
much.
is metro,
Yeah.
to then coming out here and having to learn a whole new skill set and things like regenerative farming. And, you know, even when we're in the yards with the cattle the other day and you're talking about how to select the right, you know, eating quality animals and which one's going to put on weight
Yeah.
and stuff, it would have been a pretty steep learning curve at the start, right?
All that takes a long time. You can't just, even drafting cattle, you sort of make it look easy now, but we're working on such a fine point on a cow or a steer or whatever to make it do what you want. So like dancing, sort of.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, you had one of your dogs here, one of your working dogs, and it was quite fascinating just watching you two work together in the yards. So did you train your dogs, or have you had external help, or do they come from like a particular bloodline of dogs that are working dogs? Like, what's the go there?
Basically, that's right, but they've just got the instinct.
They just know what to do.
They know what they want to do. You've just got to tell them what you want them to do.
Yeah, okay. But they want to work stock, right?
They do.
Yeah.
They want to go and round them up and everything. But once you've got one dog, it sort of helps that they'll train the new ones.
And this particular dog that we had here, Hank, his father was one of your dogs as well.
Yeah.
So he would have learnt from his father, right?
He did. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and watching that, you know, I've had dogs my whole life, but I'm a city guy, so my dogs are pretty useless. Like,
They can be pretty useless too sometimes. Don't worry about that.
yeah, but, you know, it's so interesting seeing the mentality of that dog. And, you know, like, even you call him over and you try and pat him and he doesn't care. Like, all he cares about is you.
Yeah, he's just looking where I am.
Yeah.
But we spend so much time with them. But working dogs have periods of boredom where they're tied up, not doing much. But then they get to come out here for...
And it's fun, right?
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, riding around in the back of Can-Ams and...
Yeah.
Yeah, they just love it.
You see him as soon as he gets in the Can-Am, he just perks right up,
Yeah.
and he's just on alert and he's moving backwards and forwards. It's watching. Well, we've been filming a GME commercial here for the last few days, and Blair's been helping out with that, and Gillery Jess as well. And it's really interesting to, like, I've spent a bit of time on this property, but seeing some of that farming activity that goes on and seeing how, I guess, important the dogs are has been really interesting for me.
Yeah, it's good to... I wish more people could see what happens, because a lot of people just see it packed up, a bit of meat packed up in the supermarket, and you don't see what the process is going into getting it to that point.
Yeah, and I shot a podcast with Khadija recently, and we were talking about that disconnection people have with food. Like, all they ever see is packaged food in a supermarket, and they don't really understand or appreciate where it comes from.
Yeah.
I mean, we were talking about it yesterday, right? Like, we like cows. They're cool animals.
They're the best.
It's just a shame that you have to eat them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, cows are, as I said, they're comedians.
Yeah.
They want to work with you. Some are nasty, but most of them, they want to be your friend, and you've just got to, learn how to help them help you.
Yeah, and, you know, even in the yards the other day, I mean, how many head of cattle did you have in the yard with you? 30
There was
or something?
I think there was 30, yeah.
Yeah, and I was amazed at how calm those animals were.
Yeah.
They weren't, and I mean, they were cooped up in a yard for 24 hours. They had every right to be a bit grumpy, but they were really good and really calm. And even with the dog barking at them, they're sort of, you know, they were reacting to it, but they weren't getting worked up.
Well, that's just that because they're going off our cues. Like, because we go into the yard calm, no yelling.
Yeah.
They're calm.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And, you know, given the size of this property, they've got a lot of, I mean, they're free range, but you know what I mean? They've got a lot of space. But when we drive into a paddock, they'll walk up to see what we're doing.
Yeah, they're
like,
curious.
They're not scared.
No.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
But that's not always the case. Sometimes you'll go into a paddock and they'll run over the next hill and you'll never see them again.
Really? When you need to muster them.
Yeah, when they know there's something on.
When you've got to take them to the yard, then they'll go the other direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, aside from the cattle work, what else are you doing on these properties? Like, is it a lot of, like, maintenance work, like fencing and that sort of stuff?
Fencing, checking water, building various things, like building cattle yards. There's just so many different things.
So I guess
to do.
that variety would be keep it pretty interesting then, right?
Yeah, you are doing the same thing a lot of days. Like if you've got a big project on where you're building a big fence, but look where you are when you're working.
Oh yeah, I mean this property is absolutely stunning, right? That's why we've shot 3 commercials up here now.
Yeah.
And we keep coming back because it's absolutely stunning. It's
Plus we get to camp here when we're doing it.
Yeah, it's not a bad little camp spot either. I might throw a photo up of where we're camped for anyone watching on YouTube because it's pretty special. And we've camped here a few times now, and you just don't get sick of it.
And no, you can't camp here.
Yeah.
Sorry, no, you can't camp here.
yeah. You'll have to find it, and then you'll have to become friends with the property owner.
Yeah.
But I mean, this particular area we're in, it's we won't say exactly where it is, but it's pretty extreme in terms of weather up here at times as well, isn't it? Like, we've been here at Christmas time, and it was
40.
hot, and then this week it's been low single digits overnight.
Yeah, which is still warm at the moment. This will get to minus 5.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it snow here?
No, but Barrington Tops is like Pole Blue, for people who would know where Pole Blue is. It's probably 40 minutes from here.
Yeah, okay. So it gets cold, needless to say. So so you don't live on this property anymore. You live close by, and you've got that network. But aside from your farming work, there's another little business that you're involved in.
Yes, I'm a meme lord.
Yeah.
There's another word for it that I'm not going to swear, but
yeah, we're not allowed to say the other words, but basically, let's talk a little bit about Cowboy Tuned. So, how did Cowboy Tuned come about?
Well, a lot of people will know this story, but there was a mechanic in the Southern Highlands who liked to fight the internet.
Yep.
And I basically made myself his arch nemesis, whether he liked it or not.
Just because? Like, was there a particular reason for that, or you just thought it was funny?
It was just, he liked to call people that had black soot coming out of their cars Cowboy Tuners.
Yeah.
And that was bad. So that's where that came from.
Yeah. He really did just attack, like, not just customers, but like all of his competitors, right? Like, just called them out, and
that's where it started. Then the other people were hassling him, but that got a bit out of hand, I would say.
It got a bit nasty, didn't it?
Yeah, which I've never been nasty to him. I don't mean to be, but I just think it's funny to be his nemesis.
Because and he's never had a crack at you.
No.
He's just taken it on the chin.
Yeah. No, you got to give him that.
So how long ago did all that start?
I was thinking about this today. It must be 5 or 6 years. I can't even remember. Yeah, it must be around that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Well, I think I've been talking to you for about that long.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it feels like it's always been around, but it's gone well beyond just, poking fun at one particular individual. You kind of...
No, I'd never want it to just be that. It was just a way to start something. And
yeah, and I mean, really, you take the piss out of everyone, myself included. And I probably cop
you probably get it worse.
Probably cop it more than most, but that's all good. And it's all good, like, it's fun, right? Like,
yeah.
And I think, particularly in the four-wheel drive community, or the industry, shall we say, some people take it a bit too seriously. And it's comparatively quite a small industry.
It is.
At the end of the day.
It's very incestuous.
And people get a bit carried away with how important they are, or, they take things too seriously. So I love that you're just there to just take everyone back a notch every now and then, And it's all good-natured. It's light-hearted fun.
No, I never mean to actually hurt people. But, yeah, because I don't do it for a real job, I don't really care, so I can get away with it.
Yeah, and I suppose that's an interesting part for you to navigate as you've teased every influencer in the community.
Yeah, pretty much.
But now there are brands that want to work with you.
Yeah, which is weird.
Even with us at GME, we always joke about you're our most cost-effective influencer because we don't pay you anything. But it must be hard for you to navigate with certain brands. Like, only certain brands would be able to understand what you do, right?
Yeah, they've got to have a sense of humour.
Yeah. So if they take themselves too seriously, it's not really going to align, is it?
No. Well, look at ARB. They don't take themselves too seriously with me. No. They'll have a joke, and they've helped me out.
I think that's so impressive for a company like ARB. It's a massive company, and they are serious. Like, it's a big business. But their marketing team is clever enough to understand where you fit into the industry and know that it is light-hearted fun. So I think it's cool. So you do a bit of work with ARB, and there's been a couple of other brands that you started to do a bit of work with, particularly in the latest iteration of your GQ that's behind us.
There's been some people that have helped me out with this.
Yeah.
Obviously Method, Road Safe. The whole underneath the car is now new, pretty much.
Yeah, right.
It's got GU diffs, ARB lockers, but all the arms. Yeah, all road safe.
Yeah, nice. So you done like radius arms, lower arms, and adjustable uppers and all that sort of stuff.
Call tower brace.
Oh, yep.
Dropout cones. Yeah, it's got
right.
everything.
That's
She's
pretty cool.
beautiful.
And it's so good because it's like quite an unassuming looking vehicle.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't look silly. It doesn't have a mega lift in it or huge muddies or anything, but it's just, it's a well put together car, right?
Yeah, and it drives beautifully now compared to the slop machine that it was.
It's amazing
before.
when you put new bushes in everything and new arms.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, that you need to maintain these vehicles.
Yeah.
So how old is this thing?
It's a 93.
Yeah, right.
So I was thinking about this the other day. When I was 17, I think, I had an EH Holden for my first car, and that was a vintage car. So someone that age now, that's how old that is.
It's a vintage car to people.
Pretty much.
It's so wild, isn't it? Like, I mean, I'm the same. I've got a 92 80 series, and people, you know, go, oh, how old's this car? And I tell them, and they go, what?
Yeah.
Like,
I
reckon my first cars that I drove weren't even 30 years old.
Yeah.
Like,
That's why there's not many of these left that aren't absolutely flogged.
Yeah, and it's amazing. Like, it's such a testament to, you know, everyone goes on about, oh, cruisers and patrols, it's so boring. You know, there's more cars than that. But there's a reason that we use these cars, right? Because mine's got nearly 500,000 Ks on it. Now, admittedly, I have replaced the entire driveline, but the body itself is still around 500,000 Ks.
Still the same, yeah.
Yeah. So, you've had a GQ before this one, right?
I've got that ute that we've been using I've had that GQ as my work ute for years.
Yeah, right. So that's a leaf sprung.
She's an all leafy boy.
Yeah, right.
Factory rock sliders.
That's funny. Yeah. So were you always into four-wheel drives, or was it only when you moved out here and started doing the farming thing that you got into four-wheel drives?
No, I've always had a four-wheel drive. I'll be honest, I'm not a big off-roader, like full-on,
No,
like
you don't
you do.
like wheeling stuff.
I do a bit, but not flogging it like you do, basically.
Okay. Not silly stuff.
So it's always been about getting a camping vehicle where if you need to go four-wheel driving, you can, which I do it. I'm not saying I don't do it, but I'm not full on.
You're not going out to hurt the car. And
I'm not taking this up Killy Loop, put it that way.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't.
No,
it's too nice.
It's too nice, yeah.
It's also not a good track for wagons, in my experience. It's a ute track, that one.
Yeah. Less to crush.
Yeah, when you got ruts that are like higher than the roof, you don't really want to have that whole rear part of the wagon.
No, you delete your awning, delete your rack.
So did you like grow up four-wheel driving and camping? And when I say four-wheel driving, not hardcore wheeling, but were there four-wheel drives in the family?
Always. Well, Nissa Patrol.
Really?
That's why I've got it. Yeah, not this one, but yeah, we had Nissa Patrols.
I've had this conversation with so many people now that I asked them how they got into this lifestyle, and they're like, oh, we grew up with a GQ Patrol in the family.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel left out that my family didn't have a GQ. No. We had like an XE Ford Fairmont.
You could still load them up to the hilt and take them.
Mate, the thing was massive, eh? You could fit, like, the boot in that thing was gigantic.
Yeah.
And that was what we took camping, because it's all we had. But again, we weren't doing any off-roading, obviously. We were just going to, you know, big four caravan park style sort of things when we were younger. So you, as a kid, were going, like, on trips with your family, or was it weekends away camping? What was the sort of vibe?
Normally, like long weekend away to a place like this, out at Merriwar, somewhere like that, and then a yearly sort of trip down to Pebbly Beach on the south coast, not the one up
the
there.
Coffs one, yep.
Yeah, and yeah, just all over the place, really.
Yeah, right. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I feel sorry for people that haven't had the opportunity to do that, really.
Yeah, it's funny, hey, like I've had the conversation with a couple of people now, and it's like that exposure to the outdoors as a child invariably has an impact on the rest of someone's life, right?
That's right.
They get that love for it at a young age, and it's just something that they continue to do.
Yeah, and hopefully pass it on to their kids, which we do now.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
Love it.
And when we were out here at Christmas with your boys, Christmas, I sound like Mike Tyson. We were out here with your boys, and like, they were having a fat old time.
Oh, they love it.
You just don't even see them. They're just, you know, chasing cicadas and in the creek.
That's when you do see them, when they bring you another cicada to show you that
true.
That
was horrific. So when we camped here at Christmas, there was like 1 million cicadas in the trees, and it was deafening, right?
It was diabolical. Oh my God.
I rocked up and these guys were wearing earplugs, and I thought they were taking the piss. But after about a day of it, you go, yeah, give me the earplugs.
Yeah, and the rain of urine from cicadas constantly. But my car, I had to polish it after that. It
was gross, eh? It took a lot of cleaning to get all that stuff off. But, you know, we spent a week down here, and, you could just see the boys were having the best time. Like, and they're not going, oh, where's the iPad, where's the phone? They're just throwing rocks into rivers and, you know, just doing kid stuff. And it's really good to see. And of course, again, you know, they're so lucky that they've got this place.
Yeah, well, we're lucky that we can come here. Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Very
And I
lucky.
wonder if, you know, they probably don't appreciate it that much now. They just go, oh, you know, that's just where we go. But as they'd get older, they'd go, oh, man, that's pretty
Well,
special.
you know what it's like camping. As I said to you, we went to Pebbly last time. If you're watching, bugger you guys, there was a bucks party camp right in the middle of Pebbly Beach at Coffs.
Yeah.
You just get the kids to sleep and off the fireworks go. I don't mind that stuff if you're
If you're in the middle of
you're out here.
yeah, do whatever you want.
Kids everywhere, man, they just ruined it.
Yeah, and that's such a tough thing, hey. Like, we do a lot of, my wife and I, we do a lot of camping on public land, and it's always such a gamble, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can go in the middle of nowhere and set up camp, and then just as night falls, 5 carloads of P-platers rock up and camp next to you and make noise all night and scream and carry on. And then other times you meet people and they're absolute legends and they're respectful. And I mean, we're the same, you know, like we get a bit happy sometimes and we make a bit of noise. But you just, I think it's the respect thing, and that's the challenge with camping on public land, right? You never know what you're going to get. So having access to a place like this, and I mean, we're not like trying to lord it over people saying, oh, we've got access to this. There's heaps of properties like this that you can camp on through Hip Camp, right?
And Camplify, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
You've got to pay for it, but they're there, yeah.
Yeah, well, Camplify is an interesting one. That's you can hire camper vans and like caravans. I've just hired a caravan for Denny this year.
Yeah, that'll be the last time you hire one, because you'll be buying one.
Please don't set it on fire, anyone who's going to Denny, because the insurance excess could be a little high. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be interesting, right? So my wife and I have never stayed in a caravan, I don't think. And we've got a pretty nice one for Denny, because we're taking my daughter, who's going to be, 6 months old. And as I said to you the other night, I feel like I might end up with a caravan in my future. Hey?
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
It's a rite of passage, I think.
I see the benefit, don't get me wrong. Like, there's an appeal, especially with young kids, but
A good hybrid, like what Harry's towing around that cub camper,
yeah,
that'd be the go.
Sick, hey. That's a pretty good product. And it's so funny, like, even watching Harry's sort of journey, right? Like an 80 series with a swag on the roof. And
Yeah,
he's got, like,
he's gone full.
this soccer mum car with this monster van behind it. But, you know, he's got 2 little kids, and if it means that they can go on more remote trips and spend more time off-grid, then
It's worth it.
And I mean, that van, it's got like 600 amps of lithium or something stupid. It's like basically a nuclear reactor.
You'd think, yeah, 200 is enough in there. 600 I wouldn't know what to do with.
Mate, we've both running 200 amp lithium, and like I don't think mine's been below 80% this week.
Yeah.
And I've only been driving the car around the property. It's not like we've done.
Yeah, well, that's it. It's got EnerDrive system in it, and I've sat it there. It's been sitting there for 3 days, and it's still at 50%. I haven't moved it. There's no solar hooked into it.
It's so interesting, hey, like the technology, and I know you and I have talked about this a lot, but the gear that we used camping as kids versus what we have now.
Oh, past self would come here and look at this and go, what the hell is going on?
Is this what the future looks
Where's
like?
the esky with the ice that you've got to go and refill every second day?
Yeah, and it's just like you think about it. As I said, we were here at Christmas for a week. Imagine if we'd had to go get ice from town.
That's what we used to do when we started camping here.
Every day or every 2 days.
Every 2 days you're into town.
And we're sitting here with fridge freezers running, ice cold beers.
Ice creams.
Yeah.
It's completely different.
And I mean, even the 12 volt technology for me has just changed the game, right? Like, and lithium particularly. When I first put a 12 volt system in my old D22 Navara, it was like this mega AGM thing that weighed about 36 kilos. It was 130 amps, but it had about 40 usable amps before it had just shut everything down. And now, like, I look at what I've got in the 80, 200 amps of lithium, red vision, like...
Yeah, yours is particularly... Mine's still pretty simple. I've just got 12 volt plugs and...
Yeah, and I mean, I have gone pretty hard with that, but that system's absolutely amazing, right? Like, it's just sitting here with your phone, turning things on and off, checking how cold the fridge is. You can hook up water tanks to it, and,
It's like a hub.
Yeah, it's like they call it a total vehicle management system. So it means you don't have individual relays for all of your loads. You just plug everything into this distribution box and manage that all.
Yeah.
And I'm about to put a new roof console in the 80 that Rowan at the Department of the Interior is making for me. And there's a factory sub-tank gauge up there in an 80. And he goes, well, what do you want to do? Does it work properly? I said, oh, not really. And I called my mate Marty at Red Arc and said, hey, we're removing the sub-tank gauge. If I put a second Red Vision screen in there, can we connect that up to my fuel tank? And he's like, yeah.
Easy.
So now I'll have the Red Vision showing me accurately how much fuel I've got.
Yeah.
It just takes the feed off the sender. Like, it's just, it blows my mind what you can do with these cars now. And like,
it'll only get better.
yeah, where's it going to go?
I don't know. Yeah. It's sad in some respects because you don't need that stuff to go. You got to remember that.
No, you absolutely don't. And the GQ Ute that I use is a prime example.
It's the opposite.
It has a battery and a fridge. And that's it.
And your King's awning.
Hey, no, it's not King's awning. There's no branding on that awning. No one knows which brand it is.
Just a bit of nail polish.
Yeah, it's amazing what thinners will do on on one of those awning bags. But no, like, you know, it is such a simple car, and I have a mad time travelling in that car. Like, it's not good for long highway Ks, I'll be honest. It's pretty noisy and it's pretty uncomfortable.
You need a pair of earmuffs.
I talk about this, I think, in every episode so far of The Outside, so people are probably going to get bored of me and just stop watching because we keep talking about the fact that you don't need all the gear. But if you can afford it, do it. Like,
yeah.
And
or if you can post enough memes and people give you stuff for it, then do that too.
Exactly right. Like, if you can influence it for free, then fantastic. But, you know, I would say I'm really lucky, and I think you are as well, in that both of our wives love camping, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like we've got to convince them to go. They're willing and able and happy to go. But a few little creature comforts can make the difference to staying out longer.
Yeah.
Like, you know, we talked about the ice thing, and man, I remember even when Nat and I first went on a camping trip, like an esky full of sloppy, watery crap, and your meat's got water in it, and you've like, it's not pleasant, right? And then you throw summer in the mix, and you're like, am I going to die if I eat this? Now we just go, oh yeah, the fridge is running at -2.
Yeah, well, you're particularly good at camp. I'm pretty basic, but the stuff you cook us, it's beautiful.
We've eaten well this week.
Definitely.
We have eaten well, and you know, that's the sort of thing you know, when people go camping and it's like they just eat like meat and bread, and that's fine. Yeah.
Not always. When I'm by myself,
but
that's
you know what I mean. Like, or people just go and eat like canned baked beans and 2-minute noodles.
Yeah, I'm not that bad.
You can still eat well.
Yeah, you can still put a bit of effort in.
Yeah, and I know for Nat and I, like when we go away, that's an opportunity where I'm not at work. I don't have reception on my phone, so I'm not staring at bloody Instagram. No one can call me. So I've got time, and I use that time to cook, right? And I enjoy that process. And even last night, you know, we cooked a big lump of Wagyu over the fire, and
It was chef's kiss.
it was pretty good. But, you know, it's a lot more effort, and you got to really pay attention
that was
to what
like
you're doing.
Over an hour process, wasn't it, for that steak? But geez, it was worth it.
But it's worth it,
Oh, yeah.
right? Yeah, and I think the more enjoyable you can make camping for yourself, the more you're willing to do it, right? Which seems really obvious, but I've seen people that have got so much gear and so much technology, and that's what they get stressed out about. So they're worried because the system's not working, or they're, you know, checking all this stuff. And then you see others they've got like a swag and a case of beer, and
That's all they need.
and they're pretty happy.
All I want is shelter and lights that turn on when you have a switch. That stuff, little stuff like that. Just make it easy. Just that makes it.
That's
a lot
really
more enjoyable.
So, like for you, what are your necessities for a camping vehicle or a touring vehicle?
Beer,
Yep, beer.
comfortable. Whether you think it or not, these GQs are pretty comfortable. They're more comfortable than a 79.
Absolutely, full coils, man. Like, makes a big difference, right?
So I still keep it simple, but like I love this awning.
Yeah. So this is one from Rafa, right? Destination Fall
Yeah.
Drive. So is this a 270-degree awning, or is it bigger?
It is a 270-degree awning, but it's square. The front side's square, the back side's square around there, and it is square running up the other side of the car.
Yeah,
so you see a lot of them are.
Yeah, so
on
like
an
mine's
angle.
cut off on an angle, right?
Yeah, so it's fully covered to the other edge.
Yeah, right.
They're not a cheap awning, but if you feel that compared to a cheap one,
Yeah, like the one on my ute.
yeah, that you can probably feel the thickness of the canvas in that.
Yeah, I don't think it is canvas. It's just some sort of plastic.
And you've seen Rafa. I posted a reel of him driving on the beach at it must have been 100 k's an hour with this out.
Yeah, well, that was in his troopy, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, wild.
yeah.
I mean, I don't think that is exactly the use case that most people would have an awning for, but it was a
Good
very
advertisement though.
good advertising. So, and you know, there's certain things, right? I say, oh, you don't need all the gear, but there's certain things that are worth spending the money on, right? Like a good awning. Like the awning on my car, I think is like $2,800.
Yeah,
It's a bloody expensive thing,
but you won't have to,
but it's awesome.
and you won't be replacing it anytime soon.
Nah, and I mean, I used to have an Oz tent Foxwing on the car. It was on there when I bought it. And if anyone's ever used one of those things, you'll know that they just love to break themselves in half.
Just flip over.
Yeah, they've got these plastic like turnbuckle things, and they just shear off in the wind. They just snap. And man, that awning was such a punish to set up and pack down that we just didn't use it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You want it to be easy. Everything's got to be easy.
Man, all the photos of my 80 when I first got it were on the beach, and the awnings were like in its bag.
Not out, yeah.
And now we pull over for a coffee on a road trip and I just whip the awning out for some shade and then put it back in. It's just, so there's certain things I would say absolutely spend the money on.
Yeah.
But, you know, do you need 600 amps of lithium? Not unless you're Harry Fisher.
Yeah. No, I don't.
Yeah, I mean,
200's great. 200 was a big, it's just 100's good, 200's better because you just don't worry about it.
you don't even think about it, hey?
No.
So an awning, I think we agree, is pretty much critical. And the 270-degree awnings, like, they're only reasonably recent, right? Like,
Yeah.
last 10 years, maybe?
Yep.
But now it's pretty standard fitment on most cars. A fridge for all your beer and some camp lighting.
That's the basics.
And that's it. And you're not running an inverter in this car?
No.
So no induction or any of that stuff?
No.
And I mean...
I've put too much crap on induction to ever have induction, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a bit like us with 79s, right? Neither of us could ever own a 79
No,
series
definitely
cruiser.
not. Imagine that.
The outcry would just be so savage.
Yeah, I'd get cancelled.
You would get cancelled, I think. So back to Cowboy Tuned for a second then. You just made me think of something with 79s and tin sheds. How do you come up with the content for Cowboy Tuned? Because you've got your finger on the pulse in terms of what's going on in the industry, but how do you come up with all of this content?
Working out here by myself. If I'm not thinking about that, you're getting angry about other stuff. So just, yeah, I've got a lot of time by myself, put it that way.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So I do the thinking out here and probably do my editing on the toilet.
Yep, when you're not looking at Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, very good.
So that's, yeah, and as you know, with the industry, it's never far between someone doing something funny.
Or stupid. There's always something going on.
There's always something going on.
Yeah.
And I just have to wait and something will happen.
Yeah, as soon as you think there's a bit of a lull, you know something good's about to happen.
Something will happen. Yeah, which is, I've never tried to be mean to anyone about it, but I feel like my job is to point
It is your job.
things out.
Well, we've talked about it before, and you're the one that keeps the four-wheel drive industry accountable to themselves.
Yeah.
You're the self-nominated four-wheel drive community police.
That's right. I'm like the advisory board.
And that's turned into a little bit of a business for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I've always sold just some merch, just for beer money.
Yep.
Which I've got going, and I've got another page called Shirt Hub, which is just a bit more random sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, the shirt designs on there, you sent me a couple of them, and my wife has categorically said I'm not allowed to wear them outside the house.
Yeah, some of them are a bit spicy.
The Mooney one, there's some stuff on that shirt that she thinks is not appropriate. I'm actually wearing one today. But even this one, I've got the Team FTE shirt on with a big roll of toilet paper on my back, and I don't think anything of it. And I'm like, wonder what people think of me. Yeah, why has that guy got a toilet roll on his back?
That's the whole thing with the pages. I like making people happy.
Yeah.
I think we need more of it. There's too much crap going on in the world at the moment not to have a laugh every now and again.
Mate, and I absolutely agree with you. And you've built a real community around Cowboy Tuned. I was in a pub, funnily enough, in Rainbow Beach. And I was wearing one of your shirts. And this bloke came up and was like, Cowboy Tuned, oh my God, can we get a photo? Because he was wearing a Cowboy Tuned shirt as well.
Oh,
And
yeah,
it was like,
righto.
it was so funny. It's like, you know, you notice someone from across the pub and you both give each other the knowing nod. It's it's a bit of fun, right? It's ultimately a bit of fun. You sell a bit of merch and make some beer money on the side.
Yeah, don't take anything I say too seriously. Like, some people do arc up. I will never understand why, particularly some 79 drivers, if you hassle, not them, an inanimate object like a car, they arc up.
Yeah, you've had a few, right? And
What?
the 200 series community has got quite upset with you in the past as well.
And the Y62 community was upset with me for a while. But
It's so strange, isn't it? And I don't know, man. The whole thing about like Toyota versus Nissan or any other brand, I don't get it, eh?
it's
Like,
just, it's
who
just a
cares?
rivalry.
Who cares?
Yeah.
It's just a car. Like, unless you own Toyota, which none of these people do, I don't understand why. I suppose it's the same as Holden and Ford rivalry,
That's
right?
exactly right. Football teams, people are tribal.
Yeah, so they
That's just
just
how it is.
attach themselves to a 30 or 40-year-old full drive design.
Mostly bogans attach themselves to the patrols.
Yeah, that's
As
true.
Andrew St. Pierre White has pointed out.
Yes. Well, as we both own GQs, I think
That's probably right.
he's probably spot on with that.
Yep.
It's quite interesting, isn't it? And like the 79 community is hilarious because they're obviously super passionate about their vehicles, and they will fight you about it.
Yeah. They're all fighting now about if the 4-cylinder one is better or worse.
That's interesting. Have you driven a 4-cylinder one?
No,
I mean, it's a Hilux, right?
pretty much.
Yeah, I don't know. I know Ronnie's done a lot of video content on YouTube, and he's talked about it a lot on the Full Drive podcast, and he loves it, right? Like the 4-cylinder one, he sold his V8 Troop. He like gave it to some raffle company to
Oh, that's
sell
right.
off.
Yep.
But the V8 is like so much of the appeal around that model for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, but
Even though it's a
I've driven. I drive one.
underpowered, dopey, lazy thing from factory, right?
Yeah, well, I drive one for the fire brigade, and it is a hunk of junk.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah, and I mean, we were chatting the other night about it, and you know, the latest sort of line I hear from people is, it's the perfect blank canvas, which basically means you just need to modify everything.
You shouldn't be paying 90 grand for a blank canvas, is what I think.
Nah, it's a bit much, eh? And like lately, I mean, I always send you Facebook Marketplace links when you see them up there for 250 grand secondhand, and yes, there's probably 250 grand worth of gear in the car, but as we all know, you never get that.
Well, that's the thing.
Right?
But if it was brand new and you're considering doing that anyway, you might say, and you're going to pay that, the only time I would say to buy it is then, if you're going to do that and it's sitting there new.
Save you the time, right?
Yeah, save you the time.
Yeah, and I suppose I won't say they're all the same, but they're all
Very similar.
very similar in their modification, you know, like they've got a Norweld or a Mitz on the back of it, got a big alloy tray and canopy set up, and
4-inch
mega
lift.
12 volt and coil converted rears and all that sort of stuff. And like, don't get me wrong, there's some cool ones out there, but it's still really fun to tease them.
Yeah, it
because
is. That's the main thing.
Those owners seem to really get offended, and I appreciate it.
That's the main thing that I do, is if someone arcs up, I go harder.
Yeah, that's right. If you just laugh it off, then it's like, oh, well, I'll move on to something else. But
Yeah.
if you react,
You would have seen my various apology videos where I don't actually apologise.
reminds me of Conor McGregor when he says that he wants to apologise to absolutely no one.
Yeah, that's it.
It's good.
No, you shouldn't apologise. Not if you're just trying to have a laugh.
Nah, and I mean, you can just tell by the followers that you've got, like, you've got a big fan base, right? So obviously it resonates with people.
Yeah, that's the thing. The best things I post are all relatable content, things that everyone can see. Like that bloody tour bus, Fraser Island tour bus one the other day. Everyone's had an experience with one of those that's been on Fraser.
Yep, if you've been to Fraser, you know exactly what Blair's talking about there.
They are mad.
Yeah. And you don't want to be driving slow on one of those inland tracks because you'll have this 10-ton bus up your butt.
Yeah, pushing you.
Yeah.
Even if you've got a trailer on, they don't care. They're coming.
And I think that's a big part of why your content like hits the mark with so many people, right? Because you are you're not like an outsider throwing stones. You're involved in it. You've had that experience. You've done the travel. You've got a GQ. And, you know, you put up stuff about GQ owners being meth
that's the thing.
bogans all the time.
I'll target myself as much as anyone else.
Yeah.
So if you got to be able to do that, and if you look in my messages, I cop some mates. You got to have a thick skin.
I'm sure you do. And what's interesting, we've spoken about some of your stuff that's gone properly viral. It's generally when it gets an audience in the United
hits
States,
America,
right?
yep.
And then it blows up. But it's really interesting because from what I know, Americans aren't into the self-deprecating humour the same way Aussies are, right?
No.
They're more about talking each other up and talking themselves up. So it's interesting that some of your content still resonates in the United States.
Yeah, I social media, I don't know how Instagram works, but every now and again one goes to America and then it'll get... Some of my things have had millions and millions of views.
Yeah.
But the funniest thing is the Americans and the Australians talking in the comments because they're so different.
Yeah, you can tell that they're different. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, but that social media, those platforms, I don't understand how they work. I don't understand why some things go viral and some don't.
Yeah, it's a bit of a... I'm sure there's science to it, but...
it's all about... They just want people to be on there.
Yeah, it's just how do they keep people on there as long as possible, right?
Yep.
And you recently ventured into the world of YouTube.
Yeah, I did. I wanted to... As I said, I just wanted to try it because I ripped the pants off influencers all the time.
Yeah, YouTubers.
But, yeah, it was fun, but... It's not something I think I want to do with my kids because I kept having to tell them to shut up.
Yeah, right. So you're taking the fun out of it for them?
For them, it was, yeah. So I'll probably still do something every now and again, but I don't want to take away from what they're doing because no one wants to hear them going, I want to go first. You hit me. Because kids do that a lot.
Yeah, well, kids make noise and carry on.
They're kids.
Yeah, they're kids. And I think that's such an important thing to consider, right? Like,
yeah, one of them said to me, we went caving over at Timor, which is over the mountains here, Timor. And one of them said, do we have to film this part? And I went,
yeah,
I
so
felt bad.
He's already off it. He's like, yeah, you're taking the fun out of it, Dad.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's great to take photos and videos when you're camping with your family or traveling, but I think it shouldn't be the first priority. Like,
no.
Sit there and take it in. Enjoy it for what it is, you know. There's a preoccupation with everyone taking photos of everything, filming everything and putting it on the internet, but I think so much of the beauty of being in the outdoors is just experiencing it for what it is, not through a lens.
Not through a lens, yeah. It's like people taking videos of fireworks. No, you never watch that again, do you?
Or videos at concerts.
Yeah, never again will it be seen.
No one will ever watch.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you make of the technology when we talk about remote area travel? Like, for example, on this property there's Starlink, which is pretty handy. My daughter's sick at the moment, so at night I can drive up to the house, make a phone call. It's pretty handy for that.
That's right, yep.
But what about people putting Starlinks on caravans and four-wheel drives?
If I was doing it like permanent travel, I'd have it, but I wouldn't bother for me. Like, I like getting away from it.
Yeah, it's kind of nice not to have reception, right?
Yeah, when I go up to the homestead, my phone just lights up with messages. It's just nice to just leave it behind for a bit. But if you were on the road doing a lap, I'd probably get it.
It makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, even that's quite remarkable. Like, I still remember, now I'm showing my age a bit here, but I remember a world without mobile phones. And now we've got people driving around, like, I saw Paulie just cross the Simpson Desert, and he's got a Starlink on his roof, and they're sitting there watching YouTube videos on a laptop in the middle of the
editing
desert.
and uploading to YouTube. It's important for those guys.
Well, if you're making money off content and you're doing those weekly releases, then I've just broken my chair.
Uh-oh.
Then yeah, it's a useful tool. But I don't know. You made a comment the other night. It's like amazing how long your phone battery lasts.
Exactly. Mine's still.
When
it's
there's
been
no
here for 3 days.
right? So
yeah.
you're not staring at it the whole time.
Yeah. Just. I don't even want to look at my screen time. It's because I do it for sort of work. If you call Cowboy Tuned work, I do spend too much time on the bloody thing.
Oh man, I get in trouble all the time for how much time I spend looking at my phone. And same for me, right? Like between GME, the outer side, and all my interests and hobbies, I spend a lot of time on Instagram. But you know, I think it can be a positive thing and it can be a negative thing. It just depends how you use it, right? Like, I'm not one to sit there and go, social media is evil. Like, I love social media. I met you through social media.
That's right. It does do good.
you know, I've met some of my best friends I've met through the internet. And it's through common interests, and, you know, you can talk to someone online for ages, and then when you finally meet them, it's like you've known them for years.
That was like what it was like for us.
And I mean, on this trip, so we're, as I said, shooting a commercial for GME. Julia Jess is here, and I'm going to sit down with her later today and have a chat. But she was actually the one years ago that said, hey, have you heard about this Cowboy Tuned fella? You should check him out. I think you'd appreciate his sense of humour. And then...
how many years ago was that?
Oh, mate.
Probably 5 or 6.
Yeah.
I've known Jess for a long time too.
I reckon it was 2018 or 2017.
Possibly.
And you'd never met her until this trip.
Not till today, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. I've started talking shit about her.
Yeah, right.
That's how we got to know each other.
And she thought it was funny.
Yeah, just having a joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do meet good people.
And I think, you know, there's definitely a negative element to it, and it can be pretty toxic at times, and there's, you know, I worry for my daughter particularly about what it's going to look like, you know, in terms of kids bullying each other and
yeah, well, you can't get away from it.
No, you can't, right? You can't shelter them from it, but I guess you just got to try and educate them and guide them as best you can that
And
it's not real.
set limits. Like our kids they love an iPad.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but they don't have it out here or anything. We try and limit the use of it. But if you let them,
They'll just glue themselves to
they'll be
it.
there all day.
Well, and that's it. And it's all built to be addictive, right? Like game developers, it's the same as social media networks, right? They're trying to get people to stay on.
They've hacked your brain.
Yeah.
TikTok has hacked people's brains. That you see the rubbish that people post on TikTok. But sometimes I'm still there watching that rubbish too.
Mate, I got TikTok. We had a GME TikTok for a short period of time, and then for commercial reasons, we decided that for our business, TikTok wasn't the right platform. So we closed the GME TikTok down, deleted it. And at that time, I thought, I better pay attention to what my team's doing on TikTok. So I started a TikTok account, and mate, I reckon I was on there for 2 weeks, and I just went, it's not for me. I just don't. I don't need another social media platform in my life, and also the time that it just drains out of your life.
TikTok doesn't like me for some reason. The last 6 or so posts, mine get immediately restricted.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, I don't know why.
Whether people are reporting you or...
Don't know.
But then there's some wild stuff that doesn't get censored, right?
Absolutely wild, yeah.
And you're just like having a laugh and not really saying anything offensive. Like,
yeah, and they'll tell you it's been deleted for low quality QR code content or something. That'll be the reason. It's got nothing.
Yeah, right.
It's not the reason.
Yeah, so it's just... And I mean, I often wonder if it's like a bot, right? Because you lost one of your accounts, right? You got hacked.
I lost my Instagram account for a year, which was... I still don't 100% understand what happened, but the hackers got into it.
Yeah.
Then immediately emailed me and said, you've got to buy the page back. That stuffed me for a while.
Yeah.
So it took over a year to get that back. And
but in that situation, right, like say you do just go, oh yeah, cool, I'll pay you. They'll just take your money and still not give you the page back,
yeah,
right?
you can't pay them.
There's no win. So you tried to get help from Meta?
Yeah, that was completely pointless. The only way I got that back, and unfortunately I don't think it's available anymore, there was a government mob called ID Care, which was like a cybersecurity government thing.
Yeah, right.
And one day I lodged a claim with them. Danny Mon did too when she lost hers. And they said, just give us a clean email address. And I never heard from them again. So I made another address that they could recover the Instagram to. And maybe 6 weeks later, I got an email from Instagram to that email address I gave ID Care and got back into it.
That is wild, eh? I wonder how they did that.
They had a back channel to Instagram.
To a person.
Yeah.
Not a bot.
But then that happened, and then I've got 100,000 Facebook followers, and I got restricted on Facebook for 2 years for supporting terrorism, because I said the fact that the Taliban and ISIS like Land Cruisers tells me everything I need to know about them, saying that they were bad, and it mutes my page.
You were promoting terrorism.
Yeah, and I could not get it back.
And have you got access to your own fan group yet or not? Or are you still locked out of that?
I get it, and then it's gone again.
Yeah, right. So you've got a what's it called? The Cowboy
the
Tuned
VIP lounge. But I can't comment on it
You can't
generally.
post in your own group.
No.
So you're up against it with Meta, and I guess like I've had problems before where I got locked out of my Instagram, and I tried to like raise an inquiry with them, and then the bot just says,
You never get it.
Nah, there's no problem.
If you're relying on them, you'll never get it back.
It's helpful, eh?
There's too many people on it.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the thing, right? Like they've got billions of users.
Yeah, but they need a better. It's so bad that you think they do it on purpose. Like you'd think there'd be like a week grace period where any changes that were made, you can say, "Nah, that wasn't me."
Yeah,
just send it back. That's all they need to do.
Oh no, it's out of our hands.
It's too hard. Yeah, I don't. It makes you think it's intentional. That's how easily they could fix it.
Yeah, and it's so weird, and like even with 2FA, and like Danny had two-factor authentication set up, and she still got
They
hacked.
still get it. Yeah, because apparently one of the companies they Meta outsourced to them, and it leaks from that separate company who take care of that 2FA. So.
And it's just, I mean, for a lot of people, social media is just a bit of fun, but people run whole businesses off it, right?
Oh, heaps of businesses pages have lost it, and that's it for them.
Well, I saw Radius Fabrication, they lost theirs, and they've had to start again.
Yep.
There's been a few. Didn't Superior get hacked recently?
They did for a while, yep.
Yeah.
They got it back. It's just, that's why I don't ever want to rely on Cowboy Tuned for full-time employment. Because you could just lose it.
Because it's so fragile, in terms of you could just all of that community, and you'd know better than most how hard it is to build that community. It takes ages, right?
Unless you buy the followers, which happens, which we talk about.
We do talk about that. And it's always interesting because there's a few little tools that you can use on the internet to analyse people's social media profiles. And obviously with the work that I do at GME, we do a lot of paid influencer marketing, and we have ambassadors, and you get people approaching you saying, oh, I've got 100,000 followers, and then you look and they're all from another country.
All the likes are from India.
Yeah.
But I think more businesses should look into it, because they're getting ripped off if they're giving product to people that say they've got a following and they haven't got it.
Yeah, and in the industry, I often get calls from other marketers, and they sort of ask me what I think about certain people, and I just direct them to use one of those tools and say, hey, just have a look at the analytics behind it, because at the end of the day, it's fraud, really. You're saying I've got this audience, but they're not real. They're either bots or they're just bought from overseas.
Yeah,
right?
and there's a lot of money involved, so...
Yeah, it's for GME, it's a significant part of our marketing investment, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very effective marketing tool to work with people who are truly passionate about the industry and what they do. But I think people get a bit carried away with wanting to be famous, right?
They do. I don't want to be famous. It's just the followers come with posting the content. But if you're just buying followers to be famous, you're a bit of a loser.
Yeah, it's sort of weird, eh? And it's like it's not all it's cracked up to be.
No.
People taking photos of your house and stuff.
Yeah, that'd be unfortunate.
Yeah, it's good, especially having like a big GME 80 series parked out the front.
No, that's not good.
Yeah, it's always interesting when I get people sending me like Spotto photos of my car and it's parked in my own driveway. And I'm like, can you please stop taking photos of my house?
Yeah.
It's a bizarre world that we live in, man. But
if I'm out and about and people say hello, I love that.
Yeah,
that's good.
It's cool. Well, I remember years ago, you came across our good mate Az Ventures, and he was broken down on the side of the road.
Broken down on this mountain right behind us. Yeah, that's how I met Az for the first time.
What did he say? The one person you don't want to arrive when you're broken down on the side of the road, and it's you.
Unlucky.
Yeah, but it is, and don't get me wrong, like, we put ourselves in the public eye, so you got to expect the good and the bad. But I would say the vast majority of my interactions with people are positive.
Yeah.
Like, most people just love the cars. They want a photo, and it's great. It's all nice and positive. But,
yeah, that's good. The guy that called me a sick C word in the main street of Gloucester across the street when I was standing next to a group of old ladies probably wasn't the greatest one.
Wow. Yeah. Mate, one last thing before we wrap this thing up. You're a bit of a fisho. So you do a lot of bass fishing around here because there's lots of fresh water? Yeah,
I'm really lucky that we have bass water around. Yeah. Not that we caught many when we've been, but...
Yeah, or when you fish with Graham.
But yeah, we didn't catch many. Luckily, I jagged one right at the end.
Well, out of those 2 trips, right, you and I flogged it for 2 days straight, caught 1 fish each. and then you flogged it with Graham and got one fish.
Particularly the last couple of years, it's been really quiet. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, it's interesting, eh?
Yeah, hopefully this year's better.
Well, one thing I know with fishing is that we don't understand why it happens, but you might have a couple of bad years for a species and then you'll have an absolute blinder,
Stonker.
right? So I reckon we're due for a good one. So hopefully this summer we can get out here and knock a few bass.
Getting the bass and then getting the boat and knock a few flatties as well.
Yeah, well, that was where I was kind of leading with it, and I was really just setting you up so that I could tease you, because we did go fishing together on your boat in Foster, and that was about a year ago now.
It would be, yeah.
Yeah, and how did that go for you?
Well, I was too busy being a fishing guide to catch the
right.
fish.
So you were guiding me onto the fish, and I was catching
That's
them.
right.
And you weren't.
I caught a few.
Yeah. So the reason that I'm going down this path is I've recently got my boat license, and there's a little 420 Renegade that's about to enter my life that a mate's just bought and has said I've got access to. So Blair and I were actually talking about potentially going and shooting a podcast on the boat. Now, it won't be a serious conversation, I can tell you that right away.
No, it won't be. It definitely won't be.
It'll be like the South Park intro where it says, due to the content, it should not be viewed by anyone.
Yeah,
but,
that's exactly right.
I reckon we might go and have a little bit of a friendly flathead comp on the boat. We can't stay at Tony's Point Island, though, which is where we were last time.
Yeah, a bit of an asbestos problem there. For anyone who doesn't know where that is, that's at Foster. There's a big camping area at the back of Lani's Caravan Park. It was fantastic.
Mate, it was the best. And it was like, it was kind of, not a secret, but no one knew about it.
No.
They had acres of, or they still have it. They've got this like peninsula out into Wallace Lake.
Own
right?
boat ramp.
Yeah, just a mad spot. And then unfortunately they closed it not long after we went there last time. And they reckon it's got heaps of asbestos in the ground or something.
I don't know if there was a time where they were importing mulch to a lot of places, not just there, and the mulch had asbestos in it. So it could be something like that, I don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah, anyway, she's ruined. I hope that they open it again one day because it's a great spot.
Man, it's mad there, eh? Like, it's one of my favourite places to camp. And it's so weird because you're there, you're surrounded by water on like three sides. You feel like you're in the middle of nowhere, and then you drive down the road like 500 metres and you're at Macca's.
Yeah, you're
Like,
right there.
You're in the middle of town, but it's just, it's such a beautiful spot. So, anyway, mate, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down and have a chat, and I thoroughly look forward to our little fishing adventure, a bit of shit talk on the boat.
A bit.
A
lot.
And maybe a few beers.
Yep.
And until then, mate.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time on The Outer Side.
You.